They came in the silence of night. The Kalath Dominion, a war-born race of scaled predators, had long despised humanity's growing colonies. To them, Earth was a fragile anomaly, a species of flesh and bone daring to claim the stars. On the outlying colony of Erevan's Hope, a settlement built by families, teachers, and farmers, the Kalath descended without warning. Their warships cut through orbital defenses with mocking efficiency, their ground troops pouring onto soil still warm with children's laughter. But this was not conquest. It was theft. Entire nursery domes were breached. Classrooms were emptied under fire. Children, the young and unarmed, were herded into cages of shimmering plasma. Their cries carried across every broadcast frequency, sent deliberately by the Kalath to echo through human space. The message was clear. Your future belongs to us. You will not rise. Your seed will be broken before it flowers. And then the skies of Erevan's Hope burned, its guardians slaughtered, its parents silenced beneath firestorms. The galaxy watched in silence. The Kalath celebrated. Humanity grieved. But grief would not remain grief for long. The arrogance of predators, in the spired halls of the Kalath War Council, laughter echoed like steel against stone. The warlord Drexar Vane stood before his generals, pride radiating from his scarred visage. The humans are naive, he boasted, his clawed hand tightening around a chalice of molten drink. They cling to words like peace and law. They do not understand that the galaxy bows only to force. Cheers rose. The Kalath believed themselves untouchable. For centuries, they had ravaged frontier species, enslaving and consuming without consequence. Humanity to them was just another harvest. They will whimper to their Terran council, another general sneered, and then they will fold, like every prey animal before them. The stolen human children were paraded through Kalath space as trophies. Footage of their terrified faces filled alien networks. Markets whispered of auctions, slave lords salivated, and across the galaxy, other empires smirked. Humans, they thought, were builders of fragile worlds, dreamers of fragile dreams, too restrained, too civilized. No one feared Earth. The silence before the storm for weeks, humanity said nothing. There were no outrage declarations, no fleets immediately dispatched, no vengeance promised over open channels. The galaxy mistook this silence for weakness. See, they mocked, the humans bow. But silence has weight. Silence has gravity. Silence is not surrender. In the great dockyards above Earth, shadows stirred. The Sol Defense Command, long dormant, long restrained by treaties, was awakened. Dreadnoughts, black and vast as mountains, emerged from their slumber. New fleets hidden beneath orbital shrouds for decades lit their engines for the first time. And in the dark corridors of intelligence bureaus, one chilling message was sent to every Kalath relay it could infect. Return our children, or face extinction. The galaxy laughed at the threat, but those who had studied humanity closely did not laugh. They remembered Earth's wars. They remembered the scars of history when humans fought not for conquest, but for survival. The gathering of Thunderit began with the Fury Armada. 2,000 warships rose from Sol, their hulls black as void, their weapons arrays humming with unrestrained power. They were not fleets of occupation or diplomacy. They were fleets of annihilation. Every human colony contributed. Civilian shipyards shut down civilian production and reforged themselves into forges of war. Cargo freighters were stripped, refitted with plasma lances and missile racks. Old veterans were recalled. Young officers swore oaths in silence. Parents who had lost their children volunteered for combat roles with eyes colder than steel. And as the human fleets gathered, the stars themselves seemed to dim. Entire sectors fell quiet, sensing the storm about to break. Traders rerouted. Neutral empires sealed their borders. Even the most arrogant voices on the galactic forums began to falter. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy remembered an ancient truth. The fury of parents cannot be measured, and Earth had just been made a parent in mourning, the shattering of Kalath pride. The Kalath had believed themselves untouchable. Their fleets patrolled lazily, their worlds celebrated victories and festivals of blood. They did not prepare for what came. The first human assault arrived without warning. The Battle of Vane's Gate would be remembered in whispers. A Kalath defense armada of 800 ships stood guard at the threshold to their home sectors. They expected perhaps a few dozen human ships to challenge them. Instead, 1,200 Terran warships emerged from slipspace in perfect silence. There was no demand, no parley, no offer of surrender. The human flagship Oblivion's Wrath opened fire, and the stars turned white. Kaloth cruisers detonated in chained blossoms of plasma. Their command carriers were gutted by precision strikes. Entire wings of fighters were erased before their pilots knew they were under attack. The human fleet moved like a storm given flesh, coordinated, relentless, merciless. By the battle's end, not one Kaloth vessel remained. The gateway to their homeworlds lay open. For the first time, the predators felt fear. The march of retribution. Then came the invasions. Human ground forces landed not as liberators, but as executioners. Drop battalions fell from orbit like burning meteors, slamming into Kaloth cities with shockwaves that leveled districts. From the wreckage emerged armored soldiers whose eyes burned with grief and rage. The Kaloth expected hesitation. They expected negotiations. Instead, they met weapons designed for extinction-level wars. Railguns tore through their war beasts. Exosuited marines carved through their strongholds. Orbital cannons erased entire garrisons before they could raise banners. One by one, Kaloth planets fell. Not conquered, not enslaved. Cleansed. And everywhere they searched, the humans hunted for the stolen children. Broadcasts filled the void, cold and absolute. You took what cannot be taken. For that, we will take everything. The burning of Kaloth Prime at last, the humans reached Kaloth Prime, the jewel of their empire. The Kaloth gathered every ship they had left, every warlord, every beast of war, their skies blackened with defensive fleets. Their orbital rings hummed with every weapon they could muster. On the surface, billions prayed to their war gods. The humans came anyway. The Sol Armadas descended like a wall of darkness. Thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, weapons hot enough to scar atmospheres. The battle was not a battle. It was slaughter. Human dreadnoughts unleashed salvos that shattered moons. Swarms of strikecraft pierced Kaloth lines with surgical precision. And when the Kaloth tried to retreat, they found themselves surrounded. The humans had planned every vector, every escape. On the surface, Kaloth citadels crumbled beneath kinetic strikes. Oceans boiled. Mountains split. The very crust of Kaloth Prime screamed under the fury of Earth's vengeance. And at the height of the annihilation, one transmission echoed across the galaxy. The price of our children is your empire. The return of the stolen. When the fires dimmed, when Kaloth Prime lay in ruins, the humans did not claim the world. They did not plant flags. They only searched. Deep within the shattered palaces and laboratories, they found them. Cages of terrified children, stolen from Erevan's hope, malnourished but alive. The soldiers who opened those cages did not cheer. They wept. Then they carried the children back to ships that still smelled of gunmetal and smoke. To the children, they said only one thing. You are safe. You are home. And they will never touch you again. Aftermath. The whisper that endures. The Kaloth Dominion ceased to exist. Their fleets burned. Their worlds silenced. Their banners erased from history. What little remained of their kind fled into shadows, nameless and broken. And across the galaxy, silence fell once more. In that silence, whispers began. Among alien courts, in marketplaces, in dark corners of neutral worlds. Never provoke Earth. Never touch their young. Never awaken their wrath. The galaxy learned what the Kaloth never understood. Humanity's patience is vast. Their silence is deep. They build, they dream, they hope. But if you harm their children, if you wound what they hold sacred, then their vengeance is infinite. Epilogue. The unbroken flame back on Earth. The children of Erevan's hope were laid to rest, those who had been lost to the first fire. Their names were etched into stone, carved into monuments that stood not as symbols of grief, but of warning. Human parents stood among the stars and whispered to the void, never again. And the void, for the first time in history, whispered back in fear,